Am I recording? Okay. Mm, Once again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Class. Right now, let's continue our discussion, my discussion about why teaching grammar. So, in the in this part, we already talked about the reasons why we need to teach grammar or how important it is to teach grammar. So, right now, let's go to the next page and let's start with the approaches. So basically, we have the grammar, di ba? So unsa na to pag-teach ang grammar? Like mag-teach lang ba ta sa like inani na video lang? Di ba? It's so awkward like we are dealing with this online online classes and COVID pandemic and um, virtual na mga discussion, but the topic itself is really critical. And it's really ironic na kung sa patong gitopic, kung sa patong atong gitopic kay medyo salungat sa atong ginabuhat tungod kay ang pag-learn of grammar is not just about like learning and realizing or understanding. It is more on that. Okay, so right now let's start with this one of the approaches of teaching uh, presenting grammar or teaching grammar. The first one is the first approach is the deductive approach or the rule driven learning. So basically, rule driven learning. Um, so we have procedure, advantages, disadvantages, what is rule, what is a good rule, or features of a good rule. So basically, let's go to the gist of the deduction approach. The deductive is there is a rule that is being presented by the teacher, and these and the examples in examples the rules are applied, and kinsa mag-apply ana sa mga example ang mga students. So basically from general to specific inana ang deductive. Okay, so a deductive approach starts with the presentation of a rule. So just like what I am doing right now, nag-present ko kung unsa ang rule, and this is a deductive approach and is followed by examples in which the rule is applied. Um, this simply means that just like what I did last time, for example, let's go back with the tracker. What you did is there was a, like I said earlier, na um, our topic is all about um, asa na lang ta, kanang specific kayo. Mm, kanina lang, kani. Um, what I did is nag-present ko og rule. So I am presenting right now uh, one of the approach of presenting grammar or teaching grammar, and one of the approach is a deductive approach, and that is what I'm doing right now. That is a deductive method. Like I am presenting the rule, I am presenting the approach, and I will give you examples right now. So muna siya ang deductive approach. Okay? So the grammar rule is presented, and the learner engages with it through the study and manipulation of examples. So right now, um, from di ba from general to examples man. So from gikan sa ulo padong sa libro inana siya, or gikan sa pinakadako padong sa gamay, or gikan sa topic pagkahaman padong sa example inana ang deductive approach. So everyone's deductive approach is just like this, and maghatag og example. So ang example ana is pag magtudlo kag pag magtudlo kag noun. So noun is a place, thing, person, or event. Then then sa noun natay person. So an example of the persons are mother, father, then a sister, brother, a Jethro, James, so man, like all of the names. So next is event. So Christmas holiday, um, New Year, results day, Bonifacio day, Then another is um, situation, calamity, earthquake, tsunami. So I presented the general idea first, the noun, events, holidays. Then I presented some examples. So that will be the deductive approach. Okay. So what are the advantages of deductive approach? Here, time saving respects the intelligence or the intelligence, confirms learners' experience or expectations, allows teacher to deal with language points as they come along. Okay, so basically, one of the advantages is it gets straight to the point and can therefore be time saving. Straight to the point, man, di ba? So noun is a place, thing, person, or event. So that is straight to the point. And time saving, many rules, especially rules of form. Ang mga form, kay katugong mga nouns, pronoun, ka mga anana, can be more simply and quickly explained than elicited from examples. So, pwede ako magtulo sa inyo haon tayo untay as a teacher, tayo kamo. Let's put into a context directly. So, if you are a teacher and if you want to teach like part of speech deductively, what you are going to do is you need to prepare like PowerPoints or visual aids na ang kuan ang pinaka head kay ano parts of speech, then naay mga naay mga ana inani siya oh maghatag og example ha. Tahay kani then parts of speech, then magbutang ni kag arrow dayon ana dayon. Uh, 10, 10, 10, 10. So, mo ni diri ang ano, noun, a pronoun, adverb, adjective, inana din siya. Then sa noun, ano ni kag place, things, event, person. So, mo kag nagbutang og kuan ba, kanang visual organizer or kanang instructional materials para you can simply teach the deductively the grammar. So that is one of the examples. Um, this will allow more time for practice and for application. Okay, makita naman siya diretso, and it respects the intelligence and maturity of many, especially adult students, and it acknowledges the role of cognitive processes in language acquisition. Di ba sa language acquisition, when we talk about acquisition, so there is a recognition of language first before you acquire the language. You need to read it first before you understand. So you need to see it first, or the students need to know the general idea first before hearing the examples. Then it confirms many students' expectation about classroom learning, particularly for those learners who have analytical learning style. So, kana mga analytical everyone, next time na mga topic, I don't know kung dili siya ma-involve, pero dili kaya siya sa grammar ma-involve. Maybe sa inyo ng teaching profession pohon or sa mga FSFS na siguro na ninyo. Next is, it allows the teacher to deal with language points as they come up rather than having to anticipate them and prepare for them in advance. So basically, it would be easier for us to teach the topic compare sa patagnaon na to sila unsa ang topic hatagan na to sila ano. Example lang na class is di ba lisod kayo magtagna sa charade like maghatag-hatag kag action or English ba siya or Tagalog ba siya or three words ba siya or three syllables ba siya, di ba lisod kayo tungod kay daghan kayo ang kuan, daghan kayo ang word sa kalibutan or language sa kalibutan. Pero kung tahay patagnaon kag kuan kanang Pinoy henyo na naa ang word daan, igo na lang ka mag yes or no. So di ba mas dali ra. So let's talk about the disadvantages. Um, okay, disadvantages would be maybe off-putting for students. Learners may have not sufficient meta language, centered, uh, teacher centered, at the expense of student involvement. Explanation is seldom memorable. Belief Language is case of knowing the rules. So, dahil kay importante diri everyone. One of the disadvantages sa sa deductive approach kay starting the lesson with grammar presentation may be off-putting for some students, especially younger ones. Usa nang off-putting? When we talk about off-putting, off-putting means unpleasant or unattractive. It clearly means to say na pag deductive approach siya, man pagkahuman imong mga estudyante kay mga bata, di ba sa example man good, pwede man ta makapadula or pwede man ta makahatag og mga board games or mga games or mga like mga cards para makahatag sila example, pero during sa discussion man good sa general topic man unya pa di ka mag-example, maboard siguro ang mga bata like kanang mga like mga ng mga mga elementary na mga students or mga even grade 7 karon, maboard pa sila like unsa man na oy board man kana oy kanang boring man kanina topic oy mana sila ba tungod kay the deductive approach starts with the general, so kailangan pa nila mainly understand the concept, the idea, the format, the pattern before going through examples. That's why it is an disadvantage. So they may not have sufficient meta language. So kato, when we talk about meta language, example, language used to talk about, language used to talk about language, such as grammar, terminology. So, for example, there's a lot of topics like dili sila familiar, di ba? Like hala unsa man ni ang kuan progressive tense. Hala, patay kalimot mo ko ani. So wala sila sufficient na meta language like they can it is hard for them to recognize grammatical terminology. Labi na kay daghan kay ang grammar. Like dako kayo ang coverage grammar. So it will be boring, it will be off, or they may not able to understand the concept involved tungod kay general na kayo ang topic diretso. So another disadvantage is grammar explanation encourages a teacher fronted. So just like what I am doing right now, this is a very, 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 very teacher-centered approach. Like ako ra gid tanan. Though this is online kay teacher-centered pud man good, pero ideally pag when we talk about deductive approach, a teacher lang mo ang mag-discuss. So mag-discuss lang teacher man. Ang teacher ra pud maghatag og example. Inana lang. Like okay, one of the example kay inana magyud na kay dira pa siguro for example ha inani what are nouns are inani. Example, there are categories of nouns. A person is a noun. Example, John. Example, Juan. So, mandira dayon mo ana din ka sa mga students mo. Okay, Jetro, can you please give me example of kuan of the noun? So kung tahay kuan pa ko elementary pa ko man tayo wala pa jud ko kabalo kay bugo kayo daw ko. So hala patay. Wala ko ni tingog. So mubalik na po ng teacher. Okay, again, one of the example of noun is your father. What's the name of your father? Edward. Okay, that's very good. Edward is a noun. So inana, like, you need to go back again kung asa na mali, tungod kay deductive man ka, kailangan ka mo balik sa kuan general before ka sa specific. Kay unsaon nila pagkasabot sa example kung wala sila kabalo kung unsa to, di ba? Like unsaon nimo pagkabalo sa untahay sa isa kasi unsaon nimo pagkabalo sa kanang nganong mo judge kay sa isa ka book kung wala ka kabasa sa isa ka book, di ba? Ayaw i-judge ang book sa cover lang. So you need to read all of the pages in order for you to judge, just like the deductive approach. Next, explanation is seldom as memorable. Like karon guys, I know that you are listening or watching this presentation or discussion, but sooner or later, ano, makalimutan na ninyong uban, ay mahinumduman lang ninyo kay deductive approach. Kato lang siguro, like it's really cruel to to realize, but that's the fact that deductive approach disadvantage is explanation, just like what I'm doing right now, is seldom as memorable as other forms of presentation, such as demonstration. Tungod kay, kung tayo, ang demonstration man good kay time pa-demo ka na hatagan ni like ang student dito ang kuan kanang moadto sa gawas magkuha og bato. Mo na ka, okay, everyone, ato mo sa gawas. Ato kay hinunin mo mga students nimo, okay, everyone, please go out. And ayaw nagbalik, joke lang. Please go out and get anything you see. Isa lang kabutang ha ka ng ganahan kaninyo. So ang uban nagkuhag bato, ang uban nagkuhag dahon, ang uban nagkuhag tsinelas, ang uban nagkuhag papel sa basurahan, ang uban nagkuha og ID, ana. So patuonin mo sila tubangan tanan. Okay, what is this? Teacher, bato, teacher, bato. What is this? Dahon, teacher, dahon. What is this? Uh, Toyota car, teacher. Yan na. So, okay, everyone, stone, leaf, Toyota car are things, objects, right? Yes, teacher. Things ni teacher. That's very good. Since these are things, these things are called noun. Noun din na teacher. So, 'di ba masayon like grabe ka engaging, grabe kayo ka like enjoy ya oy mga ato ra gawas manguha og mga bato ina na good mga 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 bata excited ka sa mga inana pero kung i-apply na to sa sa secondary like secondary man mo so it would be best since dili naman siguro mo mag-talk about grammar no so kung tahay mag-talk mo about kuan kanang you want to introduce the topic about poem ana. So what you need to do is kanang siguro papik ingnon mo yung mga students na everyone, I want you to prepare your cell phones and pick the best song that you want to share to the class. Ano dayon? Okay, mo ni akong show, mo ni akong kuan kana mo ni akong kanta kay kuan pusong bato ina na. Magkahuman dayon kay i-share nimo sa imong class. So, di ba example naman to dito. So, dili man to, wala pa may giingon kung unsa inyong buhaton. Wala pa man giingon kung sa ang topic. Example pa man to. So, imong buhaton is okay, nanay pusong bato, nanay ko Andrea kanang unsa may kanang mga broken hearted ka mga kanta ha. Nay mga kanang basang-basa sa ulan, yung inana daghang kayo, nay mga moira-moira. So, everyone, mo ana din ka, okay, humana share daw ang tanan. So, what you need to do is um, go to the center of the stage or center of the classroom and tell everyone that just like this. You need to first you need to thank them for sharing their experiences or their song. Praise them na they have chosen songs that are wonderful, memorable, like very emotional or very tagus sa bato, tagus sa kalob-looban mo inana man imong introduce na the reason why I'm picking this the reason why I am telling you to share your songs is because these songs are like stories and these stories are like uh, composed of heartbroken story or happy story and ina so makakuha na ka and ang ending makayo kag okay so our topic for today is all about stories or our topic for today is all about songs. So inana siya diretso. So it would be more engaging kung inductive siya. Pero since deductive man, it would be very boring. It would be very like di ka siya na memorable. Next, such an approach encourages the belief that learning a language is simply a case of knowing the rules because ang point ani class is kanigong kaning asa to disadvantage belief kaning language is case of knowing rules tungod kay naay mga arguments before and until now na um, like you just need to know the rules in order for you to come up with a language na actually maka-learn makag-language without the rules. Ana good. Kay even ang sound is a language na. So isa na siya ka disadvantage sa kuan sa deductive approach. Okay? So I hope you understand the disadvantage and advantage. Then asa na ta? What is a rule? Okay, so what is a rule, everyone? So kani diriya is nasulat na nako diriya. Mo ni siya. What is a rule? In a Longman Activity Dictionary, rule is defined as a principle or order which guides behavior, says assess how things are to be done. So how things are to be done. Then since giingnan ka na mo na yung buhaton, so you are prescribed to do that one, di ba? Like mura siya ano ba, you are obliged to do that one kay that is the rule and that is an order. So that is a prescriptive rule. Next, the usual rule is also the usual way that some things happen. So usual way lang siya, wala ka gi dili principle, wala ka gi order to have this behavior, but it is just usual. So it is descriptive rule because primarily descriptive rules concerned with generalizations about what speakers of the language actually do or say than what they should do. Okay, so I hope you got it. Next, pedagogy. Pedagogy rules. They make sense to learners and provide them with the means and confidence to generate language which a reasonable chance of success. Pedagogy rules um, can be split into mali wala ning eight rules ha. Kung ano na siya kanang wala nang eight rules ha. Kung ano siya ang pedagogy kay rules of form and rules of use duha na siya kabuok. Umot lang ano na eight dira. So mo na siya ang mga example. So pag prescripted rules like you are prescribed to do that one just like sa SVA um kailangan nimo ning buhaton kay kung di nimo buhaton mali ka. So just like ang prescripted rules examples in here is do not use different to or different than. Like kung tahay no, um, magbuhat kag example, dapat dili daw ka mogamit og different to or different than. You need to always use different from. The different from me and you, ano dapat ka? Dapat dili ka magkuhan use og the different to, ana ba kay mali gina siya. Next is never use the passive or passive voice when you can use the active. Okay, that's very good. Next, use shall for the first person like I shall return, di ba? Then use will for second and third person. So katong kay Douglas MacArthur, tama to yung gibuhat na I shall return. Kay kung mag I will I will return na siya, dili na siya I mean inappropriate na siya. Though dili na siya erroneous pero argumentative na siya. Na dapat lang yun kung magamit kag ano will second person lang or third person like tayo Jethro will or maybe he will or maybe you will pero dili ka magamit og I will pero though na ay mga I will that's why prescriptive rules na siya kay kuan na siya kanang argumentative in the sense but order in the manner. Next, examples of descriptive rules do not normally use the with proper nouns referring to the people. So, pag mag-describe daw ka, like descriptive man siya, kung mag-describe daw ka, ayaw daw gamita ang the, kanang the ba? Ayaw daw gamita ang the pag mag-refer kag people. Like kung tahay, tawagan ko nimo, huy, the Jetro. Di ba mali siya? Or, kuan, or kanang, like, unsa pa man, like kanang, though na mga the doctor, the nurse, the teacher, pero pag proper noun gani, like ang proper noun kay kuan man gyud na siya, 'di ba? Specific na mga name. So, tahay kana specific na name na hospital, ndo. Ah, pwede man gud ang hospital gud, pero actually pag mga name gud siya, like proper people man gud ang ginaingon diri ah. So dapat dili ka mo gamit og the. Then we use used to, kanang used to with the infinitive. Ang used to, pag infinitive na siya ang use nimo is dapat a past tense like used then plus to. So used to with the infinitive, like example, used to do, used to smoke, to say that something regularly happened in the past but no longer happens right now. Next, example for rule of form. So, unsa ang rule of form? So, kung ang form niya is inani, inani gyud siya. So, meaning ana, to form the past simple of regular verbs, just add d or ed, or just add ed to the infinitive. O kantahay, so mo tong form no. So, how about ang use? Example of a rule of use is the simple past tense is used to indicate past action or states. So generally, these are rules, di ba? But they differ from their description, like prescriptive rule, descriptive rule, rule of form, rule of use. But generally, these are the rules and these are grammar. Okay. So next is, I think we are done with the deductive approach. hmm And let's go with the inductive approach. Asanata. Okay, this is the inductive approach. This is the rule discovery path. So just compare with uh, the deductive approach. The inductive approach is very engaging, like very challenging and very interesting na kailangan ikaw ang mag-discover para nakay topic like kuntahay if you're problematic, just use inductive approach. Just like tahay, problematic kay ka, what you need to do is the inductive approach. You need to identify asa ka nagka-problema. Kung tahay, example, nagka-problema ka sa uyab. So kung tahay mo na siya. Next is, you need to discover the rule or dili siya rule pero you need to discover the answer nganong na problema ka. So tungod kay wa kay kwarta gusto siya magpalibre og milk tea, burger, price at prutas. Inana, so unsa man imong buhaton para maka-come up ka? So bulagan mo siya kay gasto kay siya. So inana lang ano ang inductive approach from specific to general. Inana siya, okay? So we have red, blue, yellow and violet or purple in here. So let's discuss the other rules in inductive approach. So the inductive approach, this is the rule discovery path. You need to discover the topic for yourself. What are the advantages of encouraging learners to work rules out for themselves? First, rules learners discover for themselves are more likely to fit their existing mental structures than rules they have been presented with. This is turn this like this in turn will make the rules more meaningful, memorable, and uh, serviceable. Like ano, in any siya klase, um, actually I like the inductive approach, especially when induct namagoy untay ako a writer. I cannot consider myself as a writer because when you are a writer dapat naka-publish na kag mga books, pero I am not a writer, I am just a dreamer. So but I love writing, so nag-write ko sa una, nag-write ko karon busy naman kayo. So uh, there are two types of writer. Ang first writer is nagabutang na daan og kuan, like nagabutang na siya title, nagabutang na siya outline unsay mahitabo sa iyang story. Ang second writer is just write until makakama up kag isa ka nindot na ano story o isa ka nindot na title. So katong nagbuhat na kag kuandaan kanang timeline or title mo to ang deductive, like okay mo ni akong buhaton mo ni tanan-tanan so magsulat na lang ko. Pero kung mag-inductive ka, just write lang ka, mag-write lang ka, flow with your thoughts, with your hearts, with your emotion, then sooner or later, pag mahuman ka, dala na ka mag-realize kung unsa ang title. Or along the way, maka-create kag title. So, ina na ang inductive approach. That's why it is more meaningful and memorable tungkol kay you are the one who is discovering uh, the the rules or the topic from your existing mental structures than magbasa-basa lang kadara. Okay? Then, one of the advantages also is kani, mo ni pinakanindot is the mental effort involved ensures a greater degree of cognitive depth. di ba? Kay ano man kanang ikaw may naningkamot og sabot para masabtan nimo kung unsa gyud ang meaning ato. So na kay greater memorability. Like di na ka kailangan mag memo plus gold para lang para ma-memorize lang tungod kay once you created that one or you discovered that one, it is easier for you to retain that information. That's why that's why during sa essay na I mean extemporaneous speech na to, uh, when your teacher already like gave you lots tahay tomorrow class kay mag-extempo ta pagkahumandayon kay damo gyud uban class na nagaingon na mag-extempo ta ugma na dapat dili mag-ingon na mag-extempo ta tungod kay extempo ganino ba. So naay mga uban teachers na maghatag og okay mag-extempo ta ugma pagkahuman ang topic nato kay education versus wealth or sa mga tawag na like money versus mind versus money banso yun na or basta inanagad ka ng kwarta or intelligence inana ba. So muna na ang katong mga estudyante gabi pa lang nagbuhat na daan nagmemorize ng daan sa iingon, di ba? So my point in here that's the reason why I am sharing this one is it is hard for you to like uh to answer or to memorize if you are not the one who wrote the answer. Like kung tayo nagkapi-copy lang ka sa kuan, nagkapi-copy lang ka sa Google, so maglisod jud kag memorize kay dili man to gikan sa imong mental capacity, dili man to gikan sa imong kuan capability. Gi-copy and paste lang man to nimo. Pero once you are the one who wrote your answer, it is easier for you. It is so much familiar to memorize with. So mas easy na siya. And that's one of the reason why inductive approach is the rule discovery path. Next, students are more involved in the learning process rather than passive. So which is this one is not a teacher centered but this is a student centered approach ang inductive, okay? Next, it is an approach which favors pattern recognition and problem solving abilities. Kay 'di ba, mag-discover man ka so makasolve gyud kag problem so mga problem. Then siya suitable pud siya sa mga sa mga students na ganahan og mga challenges or especially kana mga mga critical or mga dili mga beginning na mga students kundi pero it doesn't matter kung unsa jud siya na level as long as you are effective teacher. Inana gyud na siya. Next is one of the advantages niya is if the problem solving is done collaboratively and in the target language, learners get the opportunity for extra language practice. Tungod kay they are like working with each other. So it means to say that they are also communicating with each other. They were talking, sharing, analyzing, solving a problem. So it is more involving and they got a lots of opportunity to practice their language and not just about the language but at least to have a brainstorm um, ideas. Compare with deductive, you just listen to the teacher inana okay teacher ang ganda mo ang gwapo mo inana ra gyud siya. Next working things one of this the advantages also is working things out for themselves prepare students for greater self-reliance and is therefore conducive to learner autonomy. So when we talk about autonomy, so like automatic na sila na ang maka-stand on their own. They don't need to like they don't need scaffolding like tabangan pa nimo sila. They don't need that one because in the inductive approach, uh, you are preparing them to be like self-reliant. Maka-stand sila on their own. Like they are willing to solve their problems by their own than running from them. Inana na siya, okay? Pero na po tayo mga disadvantages, daghan po tayo disadvantages sa sa inductive approach. Pinakauna dira is time consuming o grabe ka kanang grabe ka daghang energy dapat nato mas spend para lang mahibal-an nila ang rule. Man, napa mga times na ma-mislead na to ang mga students Tungod kay nama, di ba? Uh, Different students, different culture, different backgrounds, different um like mental capacity or intellectual capacity. So naay they know na tama sila. Napoy they know na di po sila tama or napoy mga students na wa sila ilabot, okay? Ang problem is what will happen if they will work collaboratively. So daghang ideas magsumpaki, then lots of discouragement, lots of something inana. So naay mga probable cost na mahitabo. So muna ang disadvantage niya. Then the time taken to work out a rule or ang time na dapat ang time na inyong gispend na magdula mo, mag magbasa mo, mag langyaw-langyaw mo just to discover the meaning or the topic, why not spend it with the rule itself, like dito i-feed ang rule para maging productive mo and makapractice pa mo, 'di ba? So grabe siya ka disadvantage. Next is kanang students may kanang hypothesize or may think the wrong rule. Kaya naman sila kaugalingon nila ng mga version just like what I said earlier. So, na ay mga broad, na po yung mga sobra ra pud ka narrow, na po yung mga mga mali na hypothesis or mga mali na mga pag-practice sa example, na po yung mga mali na mga statement sa rule. So, og na po yung mga mali na pagsabot sa mga instruction. So, that is a huge disadvantage. Next is it can place heavy demands on teachers in planning a lesson, di ba? So since you need to consider your students, their capability, kinsa ang bright, kinsa dili, what type of learner they are, like unsa ilang learner, like kung ba sila kanang naturalistic, interpersonal, intrapersonal ba sila, kinesthetic ba sila, musical ba sila, you need to consider their comfortability. You need to consider your time also, your money, uh, your lesson planning. So there's a lot of things you need to consider in order for you to organize the data carefully to guide your students. So that is a huge disadvantage also. Then, however, um, ang inductive approach also is kuanday siya kanang like ang pinakadako niya na advantage tungod kay, 'di ba, student centered man ang inductive approach, like dakog tendency na maging frustrated ang learners, especially kato mga slow learner good na supposedly dapat i-encourage na to sila. They would be like frustrating in on their part if they didn't get what's the meaning of this, or kung nasa lahi na result or nasa lahi na answer, especially kana mga individual lang, like kana kung pa-solve sa math dito, so ako pataas dito, pero mo to maka ako guilty ko ana, like during sa high school na mo, I could say na ang giatiman lang sa giatiman lang sa teacher na mo sa math kay ang mga math quizzers lang. So like WTF kalagot ba, ana good what the inana ba. So what I did is naningkamot ko sa English na part, naningkamot ko sa science na part, naningkamot ko sa IT na ko na part. So katong mga hard ug math, bahala mo dara. Kay di man mi hatagag chance sa teacher na mo, kay gusto man siya like inductive approach man sometimes ang iyang ginahatag, like okay nakoy problem diri, solve na ninyo man mag-discuss ta about ani ana man, syempre kinsa may makasolve sa mga problem sa math kundi katong mga hawdog math. Kung saan na lang tong mga wala pa kabalo or maglisod yun sa math, di ba? So maka-frustrate gid sa mga students, okay? So that will be the inductive approach. That is the rule discovery. Natay mga techniques diri, so I will like discuss the techniques. We have the generative situation. As itong generative situation. So, excuse me. Mm. Okay, so generative situation. I feel na ko naghatag ko diri anara. So I will just read this one. Research findings into the relative benefits of deductive and inductive methods have been inconclusive. It means to say that short-term gains for deductive learning have been found, and there is some evidence to suggest that some kinds of language items are better given than to discovered. So it simply means to say that there's a lot of arguments about what method is the most effective and most efficient in terms of teaching and learning language. So there are researchers that said uh, that deductive approach is some kind of a short-term gain, that it is better to use the deductive approach, especially on the um, like kanagong mag-memorize lang or mga items na dali lang i-memorize kaysa sa katong mga inductive approach na maging sila-sila pa ana. Moreover, when surveyed, most learners tend to prefer deductive presentations of grammar, di ba? Even siguro kamo, what you will do is uh, topic then discuss, inana lang siguro. But I hope na sooner or later be more efficient, be more effective, or be more student centered. Try to use the inductive also. Okay. So, nevertheless, once exposed to inductive approaches, there is often less resistance as the learners see the benefits of solving language problems themselves. Finally, the autonomy argument is not easily dismissed. The capacity to discern patterns and regularities in natural occurring input would seem to be an invaluable tool for self directed learning, and one, therefore, that might usefully be developed in the classroom. So these are the examples of inductive approach. This is called a generative situation. The teacher sets up a situation in order to generate several examples of a structure. Ang kaning generative situation in class is mo ni gong pinaka basic na ginabuhat sa teacher kanang mangangkong ka familiar mo ana like tayo for example ha inani okay, what are nouns? Okay, Jetro, noun is something, ma'am. Okay, uh Juan, noun is something, ma'am. Pedro, nouns is something, ma'am. So, okay, that's it. Inana lang. Nag-generate kag situation in order for you to get the general na general na like the term inana siya. Next, we have the find the rule or unsa tong kuan gani dito sa pangalan nito I think muning guided discovery, find the rule siguro. Example 2, wala mo yung nakapangalan dira. The principles of the guided discovery approach din siya. Were originally, ori, basta, originally intended for self-instruction as part of the kind of programs which were used in language laboratories. They soon adapt for classroom use and course books promotion and inductive approach to language learning are now more or less standard. An example of an inductive presentation of the present impulse of New Wave 1, Longman 1980 shown off to the left. So, mo ni siya class. Find the rule siya. Nga naman, ang imong buhatan mangod ani is, kani good kaning find the rule. Look at the sentence. So, basahon ni mo mga sentence. Meaning to say, na mga sentence diri, di ba? Man gi-bold lang nila or gi-darken lang nila kung unsa ang ilang gusto i-emphasize. Inana lang. Man kani man good is mga ano lang ni siya, mga course books lang ni siya, mga workbooks lang ni siya. Dili ni siya, wala ni siya gitudlo like face to face or kanang verbally. So since kung tayo ako ang student, iyang gi-bold kay no, work, talks, writes, go, offers, like, hala, so unsa man ni? Nana ba? So, dira na nga mamili, maoday ni di ay. Maoday ni di ay. Maoday ni ang answer. Okay, so now apply the rule. So moto since nakabalo na sila nagikan since naghatag kag example daan maka-conclude na sila na mo day ni ang rule day na gusto ni teacher. So at that moment since they already knew what rule you are referring to, they can give their own feedback too. Okay, na lang. Next, number three is the minimal sentence pair. So this is simple. Uh, by presenting two sentences that are only different in one or two particulars, the teacher is better able to focus the student's attention on exactly how the choice of form determines a difference in meaning. So it is so simple. Um, these antay ako, akong buhaton is maghatag lang kog duha ka maghatag lang kog duha ka sentence. Like number one, I have seen all of Jim Jarmusch films. Letter B, I saw his latest film last month. Okay. So unsa man ang during that time, since mo yung mga example, kuha na ang mga students, hala, unsa may pasabot ni teacher ani. Kalagot-kalagot mo ana ng mga inanan ng mga students. So, ang buhaton na is mo to magkuan din ka mag-discuss din ka na, okay, my topic in here is how to use the past tense and past progressive tense. Muna na dayon, okay? So, antay, number two, since 1990, she's worked for three different newspaper. She worked for The Observer in 1996. So unsa may kuan ni? Kuan din ni siya di ay kanang like pasunod-sunod da ini ana. So muna siya ang sentence pair. Minimal sentence pair. It means to say minimal tungod kay limited siya. Then sentence is katong sentence man pair duha lang ka buok. Okay? Next, kani kay I think this is also a rule explicit presentation day siya. Okay, as with all the rule explicit presentations, this approach demands a basic command of terminology on the part of the learners. For example, hypothesis must be tested. That stage is essentially in the presentation. It also shifts the focus back onto the learners. But actually, class, wala kay ta nakatry ani tungod kay ang kani magud kay Longman kay kuha mo gani siya USA based mo gani siya though uh, like ideally we are all learning the grammar but ang point sa sa all rule explicit presentation kay mo ni ang approach na you need to like kuan sa kanang imong buhaton is tan-awon nimo ang mga example man ang example is naay naka-enclose dito ng mga terminology daan man imong buhaton is unsa kaya ang bagay dito na tense kung tayo ang diriya kay tense man so unsa kaya ang bagay na tense na suitable para sa sentence so you need to discover manapasabot lang dai sa day sa inyohang kanang topic so all about how to use simple past tense ina na lang siya next okay this is the same sample the minimal pair so ina na lang na siya. Then, okay, fourth example is using concordance data. Concordance data, it is a text analysis and concordancing software. So, uh, mainly this is a digital one. It's for anyone who needs to study text closely or analyze language in depth. This is the most powerful and flexible software of its kind with registered users in 52 countries. So, actually, wala ko experience of concordance good kay I've heard na mahal siya and we cannot afford it one. And actually, it is limited and I don't know, basi mga elite lang na mga schools or siguro mga like mga dagko lang sa mga schools na nani mga software. Siguro ang DepEd wala gyud ani. Okay, next we have the functional notional approach. Taas kini siyang history. Dili lang ako basahon ng history ha. Muditso ta sa iyahang function. So, asa kadjut lang. Mm, so when we talk about functional notional approach, we have this objective and we have notions, we have functions categories, then we have advantage and criticism. So those are the the features of functional notional approach. Okay, let's have explanation of specific terms first. Okay, asa na ta? Okay, here, explanation of specific terms. When we talk about notions, notions are meaning elements that may be expressed um, through nouns, pronouns, verbs, preposition, conjunctions, adjectives, and adverbs. A notion is just a concept, okay? Be reminded that everyone that a notion is a concept or idea. You cannot see it. It is just a concept or idea. It may be quite specific, in which case it is virtually the same as vocabulary, like if it is a dog, dog, house, for example, and or it may be very general, like time, size, emotion, movement, or other concept of topics. A notion may be time past. This may include past tense, like phrases like a month ago, in 1990, last week, last month, and utterances using temporal clauses beginning with when, before, after, and so on. So that is the notion. How about the function? So when we talk about notion class, notion is in your mind only, and you are just expressing an element in your mind. Okay, you are just trying to like yeah, you are just like thinking about something. That is the notion. But when we talk about function, it is like uh how you put what you are thinking into a realization, or like you said it verbally, or you act it communicatively. Okay, so a function is some kind of communicative act. It is the use of language to achieve a purpose. Okay, and usually involving interaction, at least between two people. Examples would be suggesting. So suggesting, you are talking with other people. Promising, so promising. Then apologizing, greeting, inviting. The inviting may include phrases like "Would you like to?" or "I suggest to." How about please? Just like that. Okay. So, notion is your idea. Then, in order for your idea to like to be realized or to apply or to express it, you need to function. You need to act, and that act is, is called the communicative act. So you need to put it into language. You need to talk, and there must be at least two people involved, like the speaker and the listener. So right now, I have a task. Have a look at the items listed in the box below, and can you sort them into separate lists of notions and functions? Okay, so unsa ang notion diri, unsa ang function? Location, obligation, advice, threat, apology, probably, offer, promise, the future, crime, the body, expression of opinion, request, spatial, a relation, food, instruction, remind. Okay, so all the pronouns, nouns, verb, preposition, conjunction, adjectives, adverbs, those are the notions, those are the idea, those are the concept. And these verbs in here, or these like communicative act in here, are all functions. So functions are offer, request, promise, advice, threat, uh, instruction, apology, remind, expression of opinion. Expression in guys. So it means to say, when we talk about function, you are going to be functioning. So you need to act. And the rest of all uh, like ang mga nabilin are the notions, okay? So also we have what we call situation. A situation may affect variations of language, such as the use of dialects, the formality or the informality of the language, and the mode of expression. Situation includes the following elements: the person taking part in the speech act, the place where the conversation occurs, the time the speech act is taking place, the topic or activity that is being discussed. Okay, what do you mean in here? What the in simplest way, the meaning in here is uh, uh, your use of your own language, how formal you are, how informal you are, how happy, how sad, how angry you are when you talk, or how like close you are, how comfortable you are, or how strange you are when you talk, it really varies with the situation. So there are like four different situations that are being expressed in here. So the person taking part in the speech act. So when we talk about the speech act is the involvement of the communicative act. So unsa ay mohang koan situation dito will vary among the speaker or the listener or what type of event. So kung tahay there's a what you call um like lamay. So ang speech act dito is ang mood sa mga tao dito is nagluluksa. So dapat ang imuhang like kung tahay pa testimony ka dito or pa hatagan kag like message sa namatay or pa storyahon naman lang ka. Dapat dili ka magkuan dito like mag kuan ka dito mag curse words ka dito dili ka dapat mag happy happy dito na dito nang awat me dito nag-bar me dito nag disco me dapat dili na. Okay? It should be like you should always consider like the place where the conversation occurs like during sa like when you are talking. So nantahay layo kayo ka like namo sa mall man naa ka sa first floor man siya nasa second floor man dugi na mo wa nagkita man hala gusto nimo siya kuan storyahon gyud so nagsininggitay mo. So asa man ang place, is it necessary or is it like are you real? Next example sa simbahan ana man biska nagampo to istorya gid ka sa imong crush sa tapads, istorya gid ka sa imong kuan ana so class don't do that. Okay, next is the time the speech act is taking place. So kung tayo gabi na, so lain pag magpakusog-kusog pa ka sa mong tingog or is na good kung next, the topic or activity that is being discussed, so magdepende yapon siya. Inan siya. Then exponents. Exponents are the language utterances or statements that stem from the function, the situation, and the topic. So when we talk about exponent, mo ni siya ang language gid like kanang mga words na imong iingon. Okay? Kung imong function is kanang greetings ka, then ang situation is like wedding, ang topic is marriage. So, dapat imong utterances kay kuan about sa topic, about sa tanan. Dili ka magstoryag layo ka sa topic. Next, code is the shared language of a community of the speaker. So, what's the code? So, ang code nato is kung tahay nata sa Mindanao. So, code nato is vernacular or Bisaya or Cebuano. When we use code switching, it is like you like you are using Bisaya, then like code switching ka to Tagalog, then like code switching ka into English, like changing the code during the speech act. Okay, inana lang siya ka simple. So next, we have the functional categories of language. So those are the moto ang kanang functions, notions, and other components. Next is kanang jud lang the point in here nganong kailangan nato i-teach ang grammar tungod kay these are like communicative I mean, 'di ba? Like communicative aspect. Okay, so when you are not that familiar with the grammar, you can't you can't identify the notion. 'Di ba? Hala, kung di ka how the grammar, so unsa ni mo pagkabalo kung unsay topic or 'di ba ang notion kay ang idea man. So unsa ni mo pagkabalo na mo ni ang words na dapat nimo iingon. Mo ni ang buhaton nimo, mo ni ang tawag, mo ni ang term. Then when we talk about function, unsa ni mo pag-function, unsa ni mo pag-talk effectively, unsa ni mo pag-apply sa situation kung you do not know the grammar or not just the grammar but the structure, the language, inana siya. Okay? So we get functional categories of language. Mary, saan yung pagbasa? Finocchiaro, The Functional Notional Approach from Theory to Practice, 1983, page 65 to 66, has placed the functional categories under five headings. So there will be personal, interpersonal, directive, referential, and imaginative. So let's talk with personal first. When we talk about personal function, it is clarifying or arranging one's idea. So personal man siya, so himuha lang siya. Okay? So like expressing one thought or of love, joy, pleasure, tanan-tanan. Inana, as long as imuha. Next, interpersonal. So it is enabling you to establish and maintain desirable social status or social and working relationship. So, kabalo ka mag-make excuse, kabalo ka mag-compliment, kabalo ka mag-apologize, kabalo ka mag-change sa embarrassing subject, kabalo ka mag-greetings, kabalo ka mag-introduce sa mong self o kabalo ka mag-introduce sa mong friends. So, that's the interpersonal. Tungod kay inter, relating to with other people. Next, directive. What is directive? Attempting to influence the actions of others, accepting or refusing direction. Okay, so examples in here are making suggestion in which the speaker is included, making requests. So, ang ano ani class is uh, though this is interpersonal also, but it is more than social. It is, 'di ba? Dili lang siya about social activity na dapat i-maintain nimo ay imuhang kuan, imuhang kanang social relationship. What you need to do is you are uh like more on influencing to be good, uh, or accepting or refusing to be good, or with the direction. For example, ani ha, warning someone. So nag-warn ka sa someone, it means you have the direction to do that one, to do the action, to influence her, to influence him. Inana siya. You are not concerned with the social status in here. You are not concerned about your personal. You just want, like, you have the empathy to be concerned with other people. So you warn someone na not to, like, do not trust her, do not trust him. Inana lang. Next, referential. Referential is talking or reporting about things, action, events, or people in the environment in the past or in the future, talking about language. For example, what is termed the metalinguistic function? So, talking or reporting about things, actions, events, or people in the environment. Ay, nabalik naman siguro. Okay. Uh, Identifying items, people in the classroom, the school, the home, the community, asking for description of someone or something, defining something, or a language item, or asking a definition, or paraphrasing, summarizing, or translating. So inana lang siya, uh, like na reference gikan sa other people in order for you to do the actions. Inana lang, okay? So that is the referential. Um, basta class, like it was about reporting, like you are talking about something in your environment bisan pagpass in a future or in a present na siya. Okay? And lastly, imaginative or imaginative imaginative im, ima, imaginative. Okay. Imaginative is discussions involving elements of creativity and artistic expressions. Okay, so all of the creativity thing as function, di ba? Function man, di ba? So these are all like verb, or these are all like an action. So you have imaginative action, discussing a poem, a story, a piece of play. So all of these function, mo na mong buhaton na kuan related sa function and notional approach. So next, what is functional grammar? So um, functional grammar, asa na to dapita? Saan ako akong reference? Okay. Functional grammar has like na siya objective criticism and advantage. So when we talk about functional grammar, a function is like kato atong giingon kanina, the like it is an action or it is an act. But since this is all about grammar, so people who study and use a language are mainly interested in how they can do things with language and how they can make meanings, get attention to their problems and interests, and influence their friends and colleagues and create a rich social life for themselves. They're only interested in the grammatical structure of the language as a means to getting things done. A grammar which puts together the pattern of a language and the things you can do with them is called a functional grammar. Okay, so the point in here, to simply put, like simplest term, um, a functional grammar is um, people who are interested in grammar structure, not about the specific grammar structure, but how they are organized, or the patterns of it puts together in order for you to do an action. Okay? So if dili ka pa masabtan, actually masabtan naman gud siya kay people man ang pasabot gud ano gud. So magstorya to dito sa objective sa ano sa functional grammar. The main objective of functional grammar is to explain language in terms of what people do with it, how they use the language to live it. Okay? So it tries to do that by adopting more of a semantic and pragmatic orientation inside the grammar. It does not see semantics and pragmatics as extra levels of organization, but sees them as integral to the organization of the grammar. So, okay, functional grammar objective is, ang objective daw sa functional grammar, kay ano siya, kanang, you are using the grammar in order for you to live peacefully. Ina na lang yun siya kasayon. But how? You need to understand the grammar. It means to say you need to understand the semantics are the meaning, right? And pragmatic is the usage in social relationship. So when you know the grammar and you are able to apply, like, you can understand other people, you can understand the instruction of other people, you can uh, understand their feelings or what they are trying to portray in such events or situations, then you put a context and a reply to them, act of kindness, or like what other things na mag-reply ka positively. So uh, you can live with that language. So ang overall impact ani is kanang the grammar envisions to make society better. Like everything is harmonious, everything is organized. When people are intelligent, or not intelligent, but if people knows how to function, because we are talking about functional grammar. So if people knows how to function effectively, when they know how to consider, when they know how to talk, when they know how to understand the semantics, or how to understand the words, the meanings, or how they communicate effectively, calmly, so they can able to live in a peacefully in that certain community. So what is criticism? So there are two criticism. We have the order and no structure syllables. So order criticisms of functional approaches include the difficulty in deciding the order in which different functions should be presented. Is it more important to be able to complain or to apologize? Okay, so basically when we talk about criticism, it's like you are, di ba, when you are talking about functioning, di ba? Like you must be a functioning person, or you must function as a person. So in a criticism, there are like doubt or questions you need to wait. I mean, you need to weigh. Okay, so you since from the word itself criticism, you need to judge both of the decisions. Like, example, um, untahay na nasakitan ka pero dili mo sala, mag-apologize ba ka para ma-okay na mo, or magpataas ka sa pride tungod kay iya yung sala, bahalag di mo ma-okay basta mapataas imong pride. So what you should do, ano, so that's the point of like applying the functional approach using the criticism, na what you need to do is try to weigh things up. You need to like um, do more communicative functions. You need to talk, you need to understand, you need to um, evaluate what's good or bad, what's better or best, what's worse or not. Okay, so next is no structure syllables. There is also the apparently random nature of the language used, which may frustrate learners used to more analytical and building block approach that a grammatical that that a grammatical syllabus can offer. Another apparent weakness is the question of what to do at higher levels. Is it simply a case of learning more complex exponents for basic functions, or is one required to seek out ever more obscure functions? So um, ang meaning ani class actually is this is also a criticism, pero you are you are trying to consider yourself as a high. So it means that um, you have this nature na maka-frustrate, na you are being more analytical, na supposedly mag-complain baka or mangayog sorry. Pero imong gibuhat is nag-complain ka pero sarcastic kayo, or nangayo kag sorry pero plastic kayo. Inana ba? Na supposedly naalay duha ka decision to made, like is it yes or no? Pero imong gibuhat kay yes lagi pero no. Di ba? Inana siya ka, it means to say na walay structure ang imong criticism as a person, as a teacher, as a student. uh, you need to function well. So it clearly means to say that if you have a decision, you need to be firm. You need to like one at a time. You need not to doubt with your decision, and you need to ensure that your decision is final. Okay? So maybe kung dili mo maging final sa decisions niyo, it gives other people false hope, or it will judge you critically, or like kanang di sila ginahanin mo yana siguro diretso. So next is ang last is advantages. So on the positive side, however, there is little doubt that functional approaches have contributed a great deal to the overall store of language teaching methodology. Most new course books contain some kind of functional syllabus alongside a focus on grammar and vocabulary, thus providing learners with communicatively useful expressions in tandem with structured syllabus with a clear sense of progression. In addition, the focus on communication inherent in the practice of functional exponents has contributed greatly to communicative language teaching in general. So, all in all, just if gusto nimo basahon, just pause it. But um, the gist or the whole meaning of this is um, the functional notional approach, or even the functional approach itself, uh, really has a radical shift to all kind of approach, tungod kay mora siya ginaging foundation in order for other approach, not just teaching grammar but even teaching like vocabulary, or teaching like teaching fs, teaching everything. Like like functional approach is like the basic foundation in order for them to start with the approach. Like unsay lang buhaton dapat they focus on communication, they focus on the situation, they should focus on what should they say, how to function well. Inana lang kasimple ang advantage niya. Okay, so right now we have the coordinating differences language categories. So since nag-talked about functional notional, let's have like the overall gist. So ang situation, remember ang situation? So ang situation daw ninyo is getting to know someone. So ang topic ninyo kay mga hobbies. So ang inyong imong notion is ang nasa una nimo is um mangutana ka, mag-greet ka, o mag-inform ka. So unsa mga dapat words dira? So dapat good morning ka, or mag-thank you ka anana. So ang function nimo is you need to ask them, you need to inform them, and you need to greet them. Then ang grammar ninyo diri is like interrogative form. Like, wow, that's amazing. Inana ka og ang verb nimo na na yes, my hobby is playing guitar. So in a verb plus ing form, and that will be like present, like inana siya dapat na part na grammar. Next, ang vocabulary niya is swimming sports. So probably ang hobbies niya is swimming sports. Inana lang ka simple ang isa ka like communicative act or speech act. Ang speech act is composed of these five. Okay? So let's go with another topic, grammar in situational context. So basically, when we talk about teaching grammar in situational context, from the word itself, situational. So, nice situation, di ba? And they need to use, or teachers need to use a generative situation. Okay? When we talk about generative situation, it is a situation which the teacher sets up in the lesson in order to generate several example sentence of a structure. So just like what I like I mentioned earlier, ang grammar in situation context is like itudlo nimo ang grammar using sa situation context. Like kung tahay ang gusto nimo na grammar na itudlo today is about kuan. Mm, past tense ang topic kay holidays. So ang imuhang situation is ano, uh, pangutanon nimo sila na how unsa man or what happened to their Christmas or their vacation or their new year. So mo na siya ang situation nimo na nagi-contextualize nimo in order to teach the grammar, okay? So just like other approaches, there are also disadvantages, advantages, generative situation and situation in context, okay? So let's talk about these. Teaching grammar in situational context using a generative situation. So just like what I said earlier, mag-set up og situation ang isa ka teacher para makagather examples. So for example, inani, okay? So kung tayo ang situation or ang context is follow a recipe or instructions from a box cake mix to bake a cake. So ang points of grammar dapat nimo is ano, present continuous tense or imperative verb form. Or mangitatag pinakasayon na sample. Okay kani. Describe a past vacation or weekend. So you need to ang point sa grammar nimo is they need to use a simple past. Tungod kay human naman ang vacation, human naman ang weekend. So ang focus nimo dira is ano, like magamit sila past tense or form of verb to do, questions formation, word order in negation. Okay, so that is so simple. Just read the PowerPoint or just pause the presentation para mabasa nyo isa-isa. Ana-ana, napanay diri Okay. So next, teaching grammar through text. So this is so simple through text, especially text is a text like book inana siya. So um, teaching grammar through text, course book text tend to be specially tailored for ease of understanding and so as to display specific features of grammar. This often gives them a slightly unreal air, as in this example. Okay, so simple kini siya everyone. Just use text to teach grammar like books na mga inana, okay? So, mm, natay ginatawag na authentic text or classroom text, okay? So, advocates of authentic text argue that not only uh, are specially written EFL text uninteresting and therefore unmotivating, but they misrepresent the way the language is used in real life context. Okay, it means to say that natay mga authentic text na mga like mga advocates siguro, like mga tao na they believe sa authentic text. So, pag na daw tayo mga textbook, like they are referring the kanang mga books na dugay na kaayo or mga EFL English for sa man na siyang EFL gani kanang kalimot ko wait. EFL is English for wait a minute, i-search na lang nako. Like kanang mga English EFL English as a foreign language mo ni siya ang mag-learn og English ang mga non-English speaker sa other country. Yan na siya. So, na daw mga books na mga ano, according sa author Ani, there are lots of books na para sa EFL na misleading siya. Like dili tama, useless o kanang kuan ka siya. Ang language is misrepresented sa real life context. Okay? So on the other hand, the problems associated with authentic text cannot be wished away or either as any teacher who has attempted to use a dense newspaper article with low level students will have discovered. Okay, so basically when we use text, though it may seem so friendly sa mga beginner, especially sa mga kindergarten or grade 1, but as you are going to uh, higher level, up to the higher level, it would become useless. Like, yes, it's good to have references, but most of the course books right now are not updated or wala gi publish og tarong, wala gi proofread og tarong, wala gi contextualize og tarong. Like for example, we like DepEd are using Americanized uh, text booklet, for instance, in ANA. So how how do these students or these teachers apply this Americanized context kung ang capabilities sa mga Filipino is lahi sa mga American? Or nagito exact example gani sa K-12 karon, like kanang ang instruction kay ano kanang like shaden daw ang color blue na dog. Pagkahuman ang module kay black and white. So unsaon pagka-shade sa blue? Asa ang blue didto? Asa ang red didto? Asa ang yellow dito na dog? Kung naka black and white day ang kuan ang textbook day. So di ba? Though there are lots of advantage sa textbook, but there's a lot of disadvantage also. Uh, but the point in here, the reason why we have like textbook is just for the references and just to preserve the like the words, the learnings, the knowledge that we can impart to the next generation. Okay. So the implication of this context-sensitive view of language and grammar teaching are that grammar is best taught and practiced in context. Okay? So daghan kay mga books na wala sa context, like dili siya para sa situation. Like yes, grade 1 are like K to 12 book, pero ang discussion kay kuan na like quantum physics. May nana good. Okay? And this means using whole text as context for grammar teaching. So this is the positive way, uh like you have the 'di ba, you have the text. So kung unsa pa na siya ka general or specific, you can use that one and you can like you can modify that one, you can recreate another grammar teaching from that text, from that whole text, from that some part of the text in order for you to teach the grammar. Advantage of using text is that they provide co-textual information. So nasa makita, allowing learners to deduce the meaning of unfamiliar grammatical items for the co-text. So kung tayo wala ko kabalo ani na term, so pwede ra ko mag ano context clues na she diri so babae day ni. So inana lang kasi yun. If the texts are authentic, they can show how the item is used in real communication. So just like what I said earlier, there are authentic texts. These authentic texts are the textbooks that we can use in real life communication. Dili siya like sobra ka high level for their grade level. As well as grammar input, texts provide vocabulary input, skills practice, and exposure to features of text organization. And these are the advantages. The difficulty of the text, especially an authentic one, may mean that some of the above advantages are lost. Yes, that's true because tayo mga, you know, ang text is like if your classroom is so diverse na pag yung mga dagko ng mga ages, then ang text is para lang yun ana na ano, para lang yun ana na age. So uh, mahatag like mawad-an og kuan, mawad-an og kanang like fair, dili fair ang text tungod kay dili niya ma-cater ang different learners nimo. Ang disadvantage niya pud also kay ano, the alternative to use simplified text may give a misleading impression as to how the language item is naturally used, again defeating the purpose of using the text. Okay, so mo ni siya ang disadvantage, like nagbuhat-buhat pag text no pagkahuman i-modify pa di ay nagbuhat-buhat og libro no man i-categorize pa di ay ina na good. Next, not all text will be equal interest to students, just like what I said earlier. And students who want quick answers to simple questions may consider the use of text to be the scenic route to language awareness and would prefer a quicker, more direct route instead. Okay, the point in here is during sa mga answer Q&A or maybe sa mga assignments or sa mga oral recitation, ang buhaton sa student is they will just memorize the meaning. Dili sila maghatag og own understanding. Like kung tahay uh, natay face to face ta karon mangutana ko, okay, what are the topics that we discussed last Monday? So imo lang since kung tahay more on kuan ka, direct route lang ka, direct route lang ka. May lang kag we discuss nouns, and nouns are uh, you said last time verb and also adjective. And so nouns are people, mga naana ra ka. Pero kung ang if kanang there is no text involved, or I could simply put to say na if you involve the text but you also have the language awareness, you can just use the text but not copy the text when you answer. Okay, uh, note, no single method of grammar presentation is going to be appropriate for all grammar items, nor for all learners, nor for all the learning contexts. A lot will also depend on the kind of practice opportunities that the teacher provides. In the next chapter, we will look at the range of practice types. Pero kaning next chapter, wala na siya actually. Kanina lang mga types of other types na engaging. I think teaching grammar through stories, second to the last topic. We can teach grammar through storytelling. This is more traditional in almost all cultures. We can tap into the tradition for very portable resources or resource and a convenient and flexible technique for teaching any phase of a grammar lesson. Like a story provides a realistic context for presenting grammar points and holds and focuses students in attention in a way that no other technique can. Like Pito class, actually, I've done this before sa face-to-face pa years um, past. Kanang it is so amazing na mag-teach ka grammar through stories man. Ang stories pagyud kay napagyud siya dramatic in sense and napagyud siya application, like ipadrama pagyud nimo sila ang story. Like it is very amazing. Uh, and it is very effective, like maka-remember sila sa imong target language na ano, I mean target topic na grammar pagkahuman napagyud sila yung lesson na makuha, inana siya ka grabe ka effective man ang story kay with energy siya, grabe siya ka interesting. Then students naturally like to listen to stories. Next is asa pa to, actually sa storytelling, everyone loves a story. Stories can be used for both eliciting and illustrating grammar points. So pwede ka mangayo or maghatag og mga kuan kanang mga grammar points. For example, the former like eliciting, like giving, I mean getting, it is the inductive reasoning. So if you put into context, you will present a story, It really depends on you how you present it. Pero inductive reasoning siya tungod kay uh, all of the students will be involved in problem solving in terms of identifying who are the characters, what happened to the story, what is the climax of the story, what is the theme of the story, until they can come up into a one single theme that like love is the only way, education is key to success, inana siya. So with illustrating the grammar points kanang during na magtudlo na jud ka sa grammar points, uh, that is the deductive thought, di ba? It is useful to include both approaches in lesson planning tungod kay pwede man ka maka-discuss good deductively, deductive like ikaw mao ni mong ingon like everyone, this is the exposition of the story. The story happens uh, at the tindahan ni Aling Nena to buy suka. So inana lang siya. Then it's very unique na pwede nimo ma-use ang inductive like okay class unsa kay nahitabo sa ano sa pagpalit ni Dodong og suka sa tindahan ni Aling Nena, di ba? So mga nakagko sir kuan sila nanguyab sa dito so nana good. So uh, it's like grabe kalingaw ang ano through stories. Next is teaching grammar through songs and rhymes. Katawanan kami last time ani sa no sa college days nako. Kay nagbuhat yun mig song, nagbuhat yun mig rhyme like nag nag-rap gud mi dito og nagbuhat yun mig beat para lang maka-create og song. Then I think ang topic namo that time is ano, part of speech man siguro to. Kay mo mo gyud pinakasayon good. Okay. So the point in here is ano kanang there are many advantages of using songs in the classroom. For example, through using contemporary popular songs, which are very familiar to teenagers, the teacher can meet the challenges of the teenage needs in the classroom. So, maatiman nimo ang needs nila. Makater nimo ang kung asa sila comfortable. Then, since songs are highly memorable and motivating, in many forms like they may constitute a powerful subculture with their own rituals or like they can also like for example they have their own way to create a song or they have their belief to like I love this song parehani ako I don't follow the trend. I love songs about uh not about but I love songs that are solemn, country in nature or country in general, country acoustic with like kanang ang voice is dili na mga like dili mga Bruno Mars og voice kana lang mga grabe ka low na mga voice or kana lang mga normal na country voice lang na mga husky nana lang ang mga ginapadong ginapaminaw inana siya. So at least kung ako ang student pwede na ako ma-share ang ako ang experience or ako ang um, personality and opinion with regards to the song or whatever I like. Then songs also give new insight into the target culture. Okay, so um, for example, we have stress, rhythm, intonation. Then we have like the authentic text. We can create the text to create a song and apply our own stress, our own rhythm, our own intonation. Okay, since the meaning is an important device in teaching grammar, it is important to contextualize any grammar point. Songs are one of the most enchanting and culturally rich resources that can easily be used in language classrooms. Songs offer a change from routine classroom activities. They are precious resources to develop students' abilities in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. They can also be used to teach a variety of language items such as sentence patterns, vocabulary, pronunciation, rhythm, adjectives, adverbs. And learning English through songs also provides a non-threatening atmosphere for students who usually are tense when speaking English in formal classroom setting. Okay, so I already said the advantage. So right now, mm, uh, there are various ways of using songs in the classroom. The level of the students, the interest and the age of the learners, the grammar point to be studied, and the song itself have determinant roles on the procedure or on the process. Apart from them, it mainly depends on the creativity of the teacher. Like if you put into context, if you put into situation, if you put into a dramatic sense, inana siya. So at the primary level of the singing song, the prosodic features of the language is emphasized. The prosodic, the processes of it. Then at the higher levels, where the practice of grammar points is at the foreground, songs can be used with several techniques. Some of these techniques are a gap fills or close text, like kana kung mga kuan kanang like na kanang na mga um na mga blank ba, like wala ko balo ha, like kung familiar mo kay kuan kay Eminem na siya my name is blank, my name is kanang katog my name is na siya blank dito na pwede nimo punan kung unsang pangalan niya, like my name is what ina na siya ba. So gap fills, a focus question, so pwede ka like what happened to the value of humanity, what happened to the fairness and equality, sa mga inana siya ba. Then true or false, so makabuhat ka question ana. So daghan ka siya mga kan actually ways to create a song in order for you to to teach the grammar point. And that's it. So um, um, in here, a teacher's selection of a technique or a set of techniques should be based on his or her objectives for the classroom. Okay, that's very good because you cannot like dili ka dili sa makabasta-basta. Okay, everyone, buhatag song. Inana siya. Dili dapat siya inana. Dapat you have the objective. You need to identify first why you are um, teaching grammar and you are um, like obliging them to make a song using your grammatical points or using a topic, and you need to prepare an effective lesson plan in order to realize it. Next, you can also teach grammar using poems or poems. So poems like songs contextualize a grammar lesson effectively. So we all know na ano, poems has structure, poem has grammatical elements, though na creativity na po siya kanang poetic license, but all in all, grabe ang impact sa poem nowadays. Like tanan na lang pwede na mag-emote, na lang ito simple. Pero when you try to apply it sa classroom setting, like patingala na lang ka, hilom kayo ang tanan, like they are trying their best to feel the emotion, to realize into their minds, to bring their subs to the past in order for them to write a poem. And poem are really effective. So like songs, okay mo ni siya, just like song, exaggerated rhythm. So pwede basahan ni class basta ang point ani is songs or poem are really effective. I No matter siguro kana siguro mga masters na like mga MA or doctorate dili na siguro necessary magkanta-kanta pa sila no, pero during sa like kindergarten, elementary, secondary, even tertiary, even college, effective gyapon kayo siya, okay? I think the only negative diri is katong mga dili hawd mo kanta or katong dili hawd mo sulat. So dili kayo sila bagay ani. Pero you can extend your limit. You can go beyond your limit. So you can try and try until you succeed. And one of the disadvantages also is it would take a lot of time. Like you need to prepare the music. You need to write the lyrics first. Then you need to put a, a rhythm, you need to put an intonation, and if doesn't suit well, then you need to edit again, and if dili gyapon mabagay, re-edit again. So inana siya ka, like it would take time and effort. Pero all in all, poems and um, using songs to teach grammar are very effective. So lastly, kani sila some rules for teaching grammar. The rule of context. So rule of context is like to draw their attention. Kung mga bata sila, pag bata-bata, kung mga tiguang sila, pag tiguang-tiguang, kung ang ilahang mood kay nani-inani, kung ilahang context kay like mga IP sila, so you need to be like, you need to be more focused and careful with the words, with the term, everything. The rule of use, so just um, uh, in teaching grammar, the rule of use, ko naman ni kanina, gi-explain naman ni kanina, pero the point in here is you need to have the learner should have the comprehension in order to produce a language. So you cannot produce one if you don't have it. Like you can give what you don't have. So you need the learners should comprehend uh, the grammar point first and produce uh, an outcome of a real language. Then the rule of economy, it means to say that you need to like practice, provide maximum practice time, uh, because grammar is so wide or grammar is so deep or is a lot of depth. So a little can go a long way. So be more like, save time or maybe extend time. It depends on the situation. Then the rule of relevance. Uh, teach only the grammar that students have problems with. The point in here is kung kabalo na ang mga students ani, ayaw na balik-balika, ayaw na i-exploit ang sa kabutang, ayaw po i-assume na kabalo sila ani. So what you need to do is you need to like siguro mag-conduct kag pre-test in order for you to know their weakness or their strengths with regards to the grammar point. Okay. Next, the rule of nurture. Teaching doesn't necessarily cause learning, not in any direct way. Instead of teaching grammar, therefore try to provide the right conditions for grammar learning. Like it means that uh, uh, like teaching grammar is not about just teaching the grammar points only, but you need to also like be the be their best companion during the learning and teaching process. So understand them. If they have a question, answer the questions. If they are struggling, help them, encourage them. Do not disappoint them or discourage them. Okay, nurture them in the safest way. The rule of appropriacy. I don't know how to read this one. Appropriacy, appropri, appropria, appropriacy. I think. So in you need to interpret all the above rules according to the level. So in simplest way, you need to adjust with their level, what they need, what's their interest, what expectation they want to have, and what are their learning style. Kung ganahan sila sayaw-sayaw, hindi pasayawon nimo sila. Pasayawa ang grammar like katong 1 plus 1 may nato ba? Or kanang kung ganahan sila mga dula-dula, hindi pa dula sila. You need to adjust because you are the teacher, or I mean they are the you know already the grammar. Try to pass down your knowledge to other generations. So you need to teach them on their end, not about your level. And some conditions, the rule of nurture argues for providing the conditions for grammar learning. What are these conditions? First condition is the input learner gets. Um, will it be presented in such a way that the learners are likely to engage with it, thus ensuring a reasonable chance of it becoming intake? So the point in here is ang na mga times na since we are teachers are too considerate or like kanang grabe kayo ka understanding sa mga students na ay times na ma-compromise ang learning, like ma-extend ang dapat dili ma-extend, and matabangan ang dapat dili tabangan, or ma-discourage ang dapat dili ma-discourage tungod kay naay mga ano ba naay mga disputed questions na nahitabo, pero pwede man siya ma-handle easily or essentially ina na siya. So mm, next is the output. Will it be sufficient quantity to okay, ang pasabot sa output class is ano kanang ang pag-teach ba nimo sa grammar kay efficient ba siya or effective ba siya para ma-reach ang dili lang memorization ba, dili lang like mag-memorize lang sila, dapat maka-apply ba gid sila, inano na siya. Sa input, tama ba yung pagtudlo? So sa input mao ba ni ang dapat na way, ina na siya. Then ang output kay sa imong way na pagtudlo, maka-assure ba ka na na ay accurate or na accuracy of fluency. Ang fluency is like, ang accuracy class is ano siya, like kanang mm, for example noun. Uh, Noun is noun, ana siya. Pero ayon tayo verb, ayon tayo ang sama na. Mm, noun lagi. Ay verb na lang verb. Tayo about accuracy, verb is verb. Okay? But when we talk about fluency, it is like more on how effective you are to use that kind of data or information in every different way or in all ways. So kung tayo mag-talk of fluency, so verb can be the action word or auxiliary or linking verb, or verb can also be the subject if you want to like to have infinitive. Verb can also be an adjective. So inana siya. And lastly, the feedback. The feedback they get, will it be of the type and quantity to ensure that some of their attention is directed at form? So the point in here is, for example, mm, if they have concern, you need to address them promptly. Like, ayun na po niya, it would have a delay effect, or you have to focus on their attention also. Uh, you should teach grammar not just for those who are already into it, but you need to cater all of them like equally. Okay, so I think everyone, that would be all for my presentation, and thank you so much for this whole term or this whole days and months of teaching and learning, and I really had a great time with you. um, Thank you so much for everything. As your teacher, my encouragement to you is, do not lose faith, hope, or just always pray, because everything everything will come into its place. Like, there's always time for everything. Okay? So class, thank you so much. Have a great day. Paus na jud akong tingog karon. So see you next time. Ciao. Ingat.